hope they like it hot.
Was this thing on?
Because I'm seeing a fire hazard.
They see composting, I see a 5-star hotel for bugs. I'd love to bring in what I actually found in the lab. It's called a biohazard, and I can't bring it in by law.
Bacteria, vermin, clutter, and hidden hazards. It's a case for the Kitchen Crimes Unit. They gather evidence, identify suspects, and with $5,000, fix the kitchen to prevent future crime.
When you walk in our front door, what you see is the kitchen. It's right there, and so if it's yucky and gross, it doesn't really sort of show the house well.
Jamie and Kevin, proud owners of their first new house, but they suspect they're not alone in this kitchen when they're fixing breakfast.
Our first spring here in the house, we noticed some bugs that, it's an old house, of course we're gonna get some bugs, but that's when they crawled out and emerged. Should I do this?
Do that. You can do it here, John.
It's hard to have it not cluttered because the space where we put our dirty dishes then is not space where we can do any cleaning.
At least we got the composting, huh?
And every time we take the compost out, we think, oh, we should have taken this out sooner.
Ooh, I don't know.
We get a little testy, a little more testy than we should. We're bumping into each other, so we're in each other's way, we're at each other's nerves.
You can barely even enjoy cooking and stuff.
Kev, your bacon isn't cooking, it's just sitting there.
Huh. So what can I do with it?
Plan B, microwave. We've done that before.
Yeah.
We're not sort of a meat and potatoes cookers. We'll do a lot of Asian cooking.
So is this thing on, or?
It just must not be working.
Okay.
The oven door doesn't shut. We haven't had the money really to replace it yet, so we tape it shut.
Got a bunch of really thick magnets, and we thought that it would close the door, and pinched up my fingers real good, and and it just didn't work.
So, packing tape's the solution we've come to.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, so we just tape it shut now, and we know that's not a very good way to do it, but it's better than leaving it open at this point.
And it works. Keeps the heat in.
Pay any more attention to your bacon?
Ah, the bacon. Maybe I just won't have any bacon today. Can I put it back in the container?
Not half cooked. Or sort of half microwave.
30 seconds. I think at the very least it'd be nice to get the random filth out of that's obviously here.
It's so small and it's so hard to figure out where to go and what to do with it. We don't know what to do with it. It's good.
I kind of miss the bacon though.
To crack the case, Marina and Rob will need hard evidence to take back to the kitchen crime lab.
Breaking everything? These are one of those tricky cases where it appears clean, but if you really dig deep, you can find some nasty germs here. Whoa!
Whoa!
1930s, here we come.
Let's try and figure this out. Oh, hey, what's going on there?
The door doesn't even close properly. That's lovely. Okay, I don't know how to shut this off, so just be careful. They want something exotic. Well, here it is. This coconut milk must have been temperature abused.
I could smell it. Do you see how close this is to the stove, Rob? And the breeze is blowing, the curtain blows up, and it really blows up because the flames wick up, poof, we've got a little kitchen fire. I'm curious about how you manage the prep, cook, and clean up on about, I don't know, what do we have? Maybe 40 inches of counter space over there? What's going on here? Composting under the the sink. It's not sealed.
Let me take a look for myself. Eggshells? This can't be great. Oh, look at this worm-like hairy creature. Marina, get here. Look at this.
Okay, calm down.
Look at that.
Oh.
How hairy that thing is. It's got a place to eat. Oh, look at the eggshells.
Okay, I'm not entirely thrilled by this scenario.
I'm
That's
gonna go
gross.
identify this little guy. I'm gonna take this with me here. It looks like it's got spines. Look how long they are.
Wow, actually that is kind of interesting.
That scares me that you say that, by the way.
I know,
Okay,
I'm mildly frightened by that too.
Next, the investigation heats up as Kevin and Jamie face serious culinary charges. The Kitchen Crimes Unit identifies a potential fire risk. Suspect coconut milk, creeping compost, counters that don't measure up. But first, Rob and Marina need some answers from the two suspects.
Composting. How long do you allow it to stand there for?
Till it fills up.
We have a couple containers that we use.
About a week.
About a week's time?
A week. It's hidden away.
You realize that kind of hurts my ears when I hear stuff like that, but okay, we'll let it go.
Okay, now I have a question about a couple things. What's this going on with your stove?
The oven door doesn't shut, so we tape it shut.
You can see there's a little bit of tape.
Residue.
Yeah.
Do you know how much fun we had with your knobs here? I see you're laughing.
It's probably about as much fun as we had when we first moved in. Yeah.
Okay, because I almost burnt my hand about, I think, 30 times trying to find out where the off was on this.
And do you sometimes have the kitchen window open when you cook?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we open it up in the evening to cool the house down after the hot day.
Right.
But if I'm cooking stuff on the stove, I've started buying bacon now, and so when I'm cooking it on the weekend, smoke comes up here and goes all over the place, so that kind of helps it get out of the kitchen.
Well, we're going to investigate your habits, both your good and your bad, and we're going to make it a lot more functional for you guys. I can only imagine what we're going to find in the lab this time.
Beetles are disgusting. I'll give you that. But what's the big deal of them crawling around in the eggshells?
My biggest concern is if it gets into their food source and start laying eggs, okay? I mean, you can spray with insecticides as much as you want. You're not going to get rid of them. That's just a temporary measure. You need to get rid of the food source.
But they want to compost.
That's where we're going to have to work together.
Okay.
Ready to make a positive ID? This is the larder beetle. Yellow band across its back with 6 distinct black dots, clubbed antenna, and completely covered with hair.
Wow, wait till we tell them.
Larder beetles love old homes like theirs. They'll bore right into the wood frames or even steel and start laying eggs, 200 at a time.
Looking at the coconut milk that I took from the refrigerator, there are so many germ colonies on this plate, I can't even count it. I'm gonna have to dilute this. Still too packed. You won't believe what kind of count I got on this. 1.5 billion colonies of germs per gram.
Could I dare to say it was a record?
This is a record. I've actually never seen this before in my life, so this is a record. Temperature abuse is the leading cause of any foodborne outbreaks, so you can't leave food at room temperature. There's a potential for those germs to get into that food, divide, and somebody can get really sick. Looking at the surveillance tape, it seems quite obvious that they don't have enough room to prepare food.
We have to take every inch of the kitchen that we have. This dead space between the stove and the fridge is a perfect opportunity for us to supply them with the surface for prep space. It's a cat climbing in the window. Even the cat knows the stove's too close to the window.
And we don't have a lot of room to work with, so we've got to use every possible inch we have to maximize the distance between the stove and the window.
I can see why that hot element was going to pose a huge problem with that flimsy curtain right beside it.
We don't want any chance of fire.
We have a few other problems here, and I'm gonna have to call the reinforcements for this one.
What reinforcements are you planning to bring in?
We'll just have to wait and see.
Counter space that doesn't measure up. Sickening coconut milk. Larvae lavishing in the compost. And curtains fueling a potential fire. Next, the Kitchen Crimes Unit calls for emergency backup to deliver the verdict. Kevin and Jamie, guilty as charged by the Kitchen Crimes Unit for the following offenses: fire felony, layout larceny, harboring illegal fugitives, temperature abuse of leftovers.
Why am I putting on gloves, you ask? Because of what I found in your kitchen, I don't want to handle with my bare hands. Do you know what this is? Your coconut milk. Even when we watered it down 4 or 5 times, I still couldn't count all the colonies on the plate. Per gram with your coconut milk, how many colonies do you think you guys had?
It's been there for a while, so 100? I have no idea what's good, what's bad.
No, that's a good guess.
I'm not even gonna guess.
Well, guess what? Congratulations, you guys actually won the prize for the highest amount of bacteria or yeast or mold, whatever it's growing on here, in your kitchen, one place at one time.
Oh no.
All right? Now, I'd love to bring in what I actually found in the lab with all the growth, but you know what? It's called a biohazard, and I can't bring it in by law. We found over, per gram, 1 billion colonies of germs.
Wow.
That's per gram though, okay? Imagine what the whole coconut milk actually consisted of. It could potentially make you really sick. So this is something of grave importance. This is cumulative, okay? So when you have a temperature abuse for a while, they start to grow, they start to multiply, you're getting high numbers, then you throw them into the refrigerator, they don't die or anything, they just stay still, you know? Then you leave it out again, and then guess what? It grows again. Killer coconut milk. Yeah, you're welcome.
Right now, we have Rob's case on your counter space, and your kitchen is full.
It takes up the whole counter.
Right.
It's a big case.
Well, it is a big case, but it's a small turkey. If you think about it, you know? Turkey and the fixings, that thing's small. And we were talking about those family gatherings that you eventually hope to have in this great house. I think our biggest challenge is how do we make it flow? Aside from the glorified beer fridge, I think we have to call out, right?
Yeah.
We have the stove right next to it, and there's all this dead space in here. The space we do have in the kitchen is so not being utilized.
I want to show you something.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, feel free to come closer, please. Get a good look. Those are larder beetles. With their little babies. Larvae.
Oh.
Do you have any questions regarding these beetles, what they do, or?
Can I go throw up? Right now?
You're excused. Where do you think I found it?
In the heat vent.
Wrong.
Really?
Kevin.
It wouldn't be by the cat food.
Wrong again.
No?
Ladies and gentlemen, 5-star resort for beetles.
At least we got the composting, huh?
And we found the larvae. That means when we find the larvae, they're reproducing.
Yeah.
And it's just the way you're composting. You're providing a nice food source for them. They're eating. Heck, I'd live in there. So. I'm going to show you the proper way of doing the composting because, again, I'm all for the composting. That's a great idea.
That's so gross.
Pretty gross.
They're not pretty.
Now, the stove is craziness. This job is too big for me.
Rob, we're still getting heat on here.
I know, I can't. I don't even know where the shut-off point is.
Hey, what's going on there?
The door doesn't even close properly.
I'm not equipped to go on this one alone.
Having curtains in the kitchen next to the stove
very bad idea. This could become an alarming situation very quickly. I've called in the big boys. Jason, come on in here. Jason, I'd like you to tell us what you think about this.
Oh, the nice tape job they used to hold up their oven door. If it ever burned and got through, it could let go and it could start the house on fire. Catch the heat, catch the cloth on fire, catch the curtains on fire.
You noticed that?
Spread to the wall, ceilings.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, that's not
Not
good at all.
And we really have to call you in.
Then you really have to call us in. More than me.
Now, Jason, what do you think about the fact that this flimsy curtain is so close to the element?
Well, that's not such a good idea either, because if the window was ever open and that kicked up, that could ignite as well, and then you're starting a fire from that situation. So maybe look into getting help from the kitchen crime unit.
Well, we're definitely going to help you guys.
Good.
The Kitchen Crimes Unit construction team is on the case. With a $5,000 budget, it's time to rehabilitate this crime scene.
This is looking great. And the rest of their exotic ingredients are going to go over there. It's not going to blow onto the stove as easily as that flimsy fabric. So I think our firemen will be very pleased with this solution.
Not to mention Jamie and Kevin. They can rest easy now with this.
Exactly.
Next, the crime-free kitchen. A population explosion of germs and coconut milk. A cluttered and cramped cook and preparation space. And 2 dangerous fire hazards around the stove. The kitchen crime fighting team does it again.
That's awesome.
The brand new stove that opens.
It closes.
It stays closed. For the sake of safety, we've increased the distance between the stove and the window. We've installed a new little counter here, so when you're taking anything off the heat source, you can put it down onto a counter.
Now, let's talk about leftovers. Make sure it's airtight, because if you don't do that, the oxygen is going to make it stale. It's going to provide a nice growth medium for the bacteria to grow, so that's very, very important. Another thing is labeling, all right? Now, leftovers are good for about 3 days in the refrigerator. I can't keep coming in your kitchen and throwing things out. You're going to kill me, so properly label leftovers. Okay, so when Tuesday comes, you're looking at it, throw it out.
If we have a big batch of something that's going to last longer than 3 days, freeze as much of it as we can.
Divide it up into smaller portions, label it, and you're right, you freeze it at that point.
Okay, we're a big fan of composting. We've left it under here. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so we've got a lid on it.
So once you have it in there for the day, you want to then remove it out of your kitchen and place it in your compost outside.
Because, of course, what we found...
Larder beetles. Remember those beautiful little creatures? You really don't need any insecticides or anything like that. The compost is sealed. You have no food source. It's a natural way of doing it.
And so is that a built-in hood?
We don't have to worry about opening the window to vent when you're cooking.
Safety lines, it won't blow in.
You guys notice that? But our recommendation to you is, during the day, let's leave it up. We've just given you this great new kitchen.
We don't want to burn it down.
Exactly.
I think what we're doing here is totally going to change. Lid stays on the compost.
Leftovers, 3 days tops.
Would you guys like the honors?
Definitely.
We'd love to.
There we go.